It worked.
So far, hi guys. This is History of Hunting. I'm Carrie. She's Laura. I screwed up the overlays, and so you can't see our names, but you guys already know who we are. Yeah. Hi. This is our snack size episode. Let's see if the button works. Probably doesn't. Hey, it does. Yay. Okay, good. Because. Sorry, I'm a little frazzled. Laura, it is a snack size episode. This week is mine, and I wonder if you've ever heard of him. I am going to be covering somebody whose script I don't have up because I'm ill prepared. Please sit tight. Here we go. I'm going to be covering the legend of Edward Mordrake. Have you ever heard of him?
I don't think so. The name sounds slightly familiar, but that could just be Mordrake from Harry Potter. Who knows?
So there's these little tiny screaming plants, and
Right.
Okay. So
And luckily, Neville's there. Okay, go on.
Neville is there. He's a wonderful herbology student. That's what they call him. All my stuff came from All That's Interesting today. Man, I need a slug of wine. Okay. So on December 8th, 1895, the Boston Sunday Post published an article titled The Wonders of Modern Science. This article presented reports from the so-called Royal Scientific Society, which documented the existence of human freaks. So supposedly, it was cataloged by British scientists, and this list of human freaks included a mermaid, a terrifying human crab, the lobster boy, that had the, two little hand thingies, and the unfortunate Edward Mordrake, who was the man with two faces. So let's take a look at him. Hold on, let me find my picture.
All right. Interesting. Oh,
Gross, right?
soup's creepy.
Soup's creepy. We will We will piss this whole night away. No, we will put all this on our social media, but isn't that fucking foul?
Wow. You know what? Seriously, I just talked about Harry Potter, and I don't mean to do it again. But remember, like the little skull in the back of the dude's head in the first one.
Yes.
That's literally what it just looks like.
The tiny little head. Yes.
Yeah. There's like a tiny little face on the back of this guy's head.
Yeah, it's really, really foul. So
all smushed in.
Yeah, disformed and whatever, but it has like let's look at it again. It's got freaking teeth.
But you can see the features. They're definitely there. The nose, the eyes, like this. It's like sunken.
They share like an ears. It's really, really terrible. So the story of this Edward Mordrake, so as the Post reported, Edward Mordrake was a young, intelligent, good-looking English nobleman as well as a musician of rare ability. But with all of his great blessings came a terrible curse in the form of a creepy face on the back of his head. In addition to his handsome normal face, Mordrake had a terrifying second face on the back of his head, like I just said. The second face was said to be, quote, as lovely as a dream, hideous as a devil. This strange visage also possessed an intelligence, quote, of a malignant sort. Whenever Mordrake cried or wept, the second face would smile and sneer. Ugh. Yeah.
Gross.
Mordrake was constantly plagued by his, quote, devil twin, which kept him up all night whispering such things as they only speak of in hell. The young nobleman was eventually driven so mad that he took his own life at the age of 23. He left behind a note ordering that the evil face should be destroyed after his death, lest, quote, lest it continues its dreadful whispering in my grave.
Wow.
Don't love it at all. So this story of the man with two faces spread like wildfire across America. The public clamored for more details about Mordrake, and even medical professionals approached the story without a hint of skepticism. Without a skit. In 1896, American doctors George M. Gould and Walter L. Pyle included the Mordrake story in their book Anomalies and Curiosities of Medicine, which was a collection of peculiar medical cases. Although Gould and Pyle were legitimate ophthalmologists and had successful medical practices, they were also quite gullible in at least this one case. Okay. They have the mummified head. They had the mummified head of this Edward Mordrake on display. So let's take a look at that nasty piece of business.
Ugh.
The thing had teeth.
Yeah, it did.
Isn't that gross?
It's super gross.
Yeah.
So where did the first picture come from?
Let's see. It was taken of him. So gross, right?
Uh-huh.
So,
okay.
Right? You're like, nightmare, thank you. So, as it turned out, the story of Edward Mordrake is fake.
Okay.
So the truth behind the man with two faces. There's a blog by Alex Boesi, and it's called The Museum of Hoaxes, and it diligently deduced the author of the original Post article, Charles Lowton Hildreth, who was the guy who wrote the story about this two-faced man.
Right.
He was a poet and a science fiction writer, and his stories tended toward the fantastical and otherworldly as opposed to articles that were based in reality.
Right.
So, of course, just because somebody writes fiction doesn't mean that every single thing they write is fictional. But there were many clues that suggested that the Mordrake story was completely made up. So, for one, his article cites the quote, Royal Scientific Society as its source for its numerous bizarre medical cases. But an organization by that name did not exist in the 19th century.
Okay.
So the Royal Society of London was a centuries-old scientific institution, but there was no organization that was both royal and scientific. However, this name might have sounded believable to people who didn't live in England, which may explain why so many Americans fell for this story of the man with two faces. So, secondly, Hildreth's article appears to be the first time any of the medical cases he describes have ever appeared in any literature, any scientific, or any other kind of medical journal. Now, the Royal Society of London's entire database is searchable online, and Boesi wasn't able to find any of Hildreth's anomalies, including this guy, in its archives. From the Norfolk spider, who had a human head with 6 hairy legs, to the fishwoman of Lincoln, which was a mermaid-type creature. Couldn't find any of them. So he said, when we realized this, that's when it becomes apparent that Hildreth's article was fiction. All of it sprang from his imagination, including Edward Mordrake. As one might imagine, newspapers in the 19th century weren't held to the same editorial standards as they are today. So while they were still vital sources of information and entertainment, they were also filled with fictional... Excuse me while I spit everywhere. Jesus, I'm so sorry, everybody. They were also filled with fictional tales that were presented as if they were nonfiction. Ultimately, this man's story, this Hildreth guy, his story about a man with two faces, wasn't necessarily irresponsible journalism. It was simply a tale written convincingly enough to trick a couple of doctors and to endure the public imagination for more than a century. Hildreth died mere months after his article was published, so he actually never got to see just how quickly Americans were fooled by his wild creativity.
That's funny.
Isn't that crazy? So this character, for you American Horror Story fans out there, this character was covered in season 4 of American Horror Story Freak Show, which is one of my favorite seasons, in episodes 3 and 4 by actor Wes Bentley. He plays the spirit of Edward Mordrake, who comes to collect the souls of anybody that dare perform as freaks on Halloween. So. Okay. That is the legend of Edward Mordrake. So I have no idea who took this freaking picture. Let's see. because it looks like a legit like picture. If it
Right, but
Photoshop
that's what I
is,
was like. Where did that picture come from? Because it's way too clear to be from that time.
yeah, crazy, right? Oh, by the way, I meant to tell you, the mummified head, paper mache.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah, pretty
interesting. I
good.
was gonna say it looks like they, kind of
Fused
put.
two heads together. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
paper mache.
Wow.
Right? They gave the little one teeth. I think that's probably the most disturbing of it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super creepy.
Yeah.
Somebody's got some paper mache talent, I gotta say.
I
'Cause
know,
my
right?
paper mache doesn't fucking
Plus
come out
that,
like that.
like, yeah, I mean, like the paint job and everything. It's even got like hair. I mean,
Mhm.
they tried to make it look as real and authentic as possible. So,
They did
Yeah.
a good job.
all right, guys, that's that on that. What'd you think?
Super interesting. I love that kind of stuff.
Right?
It reminds me of that exhibit Bodies, where they did have like, I mean, they were real.
Like the bodies exhibition, or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Where
that.
they had a bunch of like, I don't know, just different stuff. I can imagine what that would have been like. Olden timey days, and they tried to
Oh yeah. Well, there's that Mutter Museum
freak
in.
stuff out.
Isn't there that Mutter Museum is somewhere in Pennsylvania where it's actual like medical oddities are in there, and like there's specimens in jars of formaldehyde. Like it's all a museum of medical things. I want to go so
Yeah, it's
bad.
weird.
Yeah. So, anyway, guys, that is your Monday morning story. We are back with them weekly. Thank you so much for hanging in there while we took a little pause. Laura and I have found our lives completely chaotic, and so we appreciate all of your understanding. As always, our listeners are just the best, and they stick with us through thick and thin, no matter what. So we do apologize for the delay in the snack size episodes, but we are going to be bringing them back starting today, every single Monday morning, to get your weeks off right and weird. And to that, we say, Laura, stay safe out there, because you never know who
Or what?
is listening. Bye, guys.